Hi, this is Steve DeJong. I'm the CEO of Vrify Technology, and with us today, Chris Gerteisen of Nova Minerals, listed on the ASX. Chris, I was just telling you before, I'm excited to go through this because since we've done the Nova Minerals build and the interactive presentation for Vrify, it's actually content that we use in a lot of our demos to show what we do. So I'm excited to have you walk me through it. I'm going to pepper you with questions about your project, your company, as we get into it. But yeah, I've been really looking forward to this. It's by far, I don't know if it's just the mountains, the topography, what it is about your project. It's by far, I would say, and no offense to other content we've done, one of the most beautiful interactive presentations we've ever done. Thanks for taking the time today.
Yeah, great to be with you, Steve. For sure. We took on Vrify as a bit of an experiment to improve our presentations, and now we've taken it to the limit. I think we're pushing the boundaries, and we're interacting with your people over there, great team you have over there, to make improvements, which everybody will benefit from, of course. But yeah, this is really great that you've taken the time as well, and with the audience here, to be able to present to you the Estelle Gold project in the Vrify format. So I'll just get straight into it.
Yeah, sure. And Chris, maybe and before we jump into the project, maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm an economic geologist. That's my background. I've been doing this business for 30 years all around the world. I'm from Alaska, which is where the Estelle Gold project is. I'm actually from here, so I've come full circle back home now. I've been to Nova Minerals is a ASX listed company. That's where the Australian connection comes in. I spent a lot of time in Australia, working in mainly Western Australia. Some of those deposits are still being mined today. Spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia with Australian companies. And yeah, like I said, I've come full circle now back home. I've saved the best for last, right? I think this is my last stop. And certainly it's the project of a scale that's going to, I'll be involved with this one for a long, long time. I got skin in the game on this one. So it's, that's my background.
Excited about it. I can tell you're excited about it. So we did a panel this morning, and we had an institutional investor, an institutional salesperson, and a CEO. And it was interesting. We were just talking about sort of what works, what doesn't work, how do companies need to change their pitch style and their presentations to account for the market environment we're in, knowing your audience and who you're pitching to. But one of the themes that came out was it's as much about presenting your project as showing your own sense of optimism and excitement for the project. And I get the feeling going through it, that's not going to be a problem for you.
That's right. Well, I hope to emit optimism because it's certainly it's a special project, and I think I'll
let's get into it.
All right, let's do it.
So I think so. The presentation format today, we're going to follow just a couple slides and then jump into some virtual content. Is that right?
That's right. Right. So it's the Estelle Gold project, where we are developing North America's next major gold trend. Here, Steve, that's the operative word. It's not just a one-hit wonder; it's a trend. Gold, more recently antimony, silver, and copper out there at the on the Estelle Gold project. At a glance, it's a over 500 square kilometer claim block that we have here. To date, we've defined almost 10 million ounces across 2 deposits up north at Corbell, and down south at RPM is where our resources are. And then in between, we have 20 other known prospects at various stages of advancement. It's in Alaska. This is a tier 1 jurisdiction with all the sovereign risk and everything happening in the world. This jurisdiction is just excellent, not only in terms of investment environment, but also, of course, the geological potential. Here we are. Let's do a bit of a fly through. We're in the Tintina Gold Province. This has been one of the most prolific belts in recent decades. It's the home of the intrusive related gold systems. Here you see some names you probably recognize. Kinross, Fort Knox, and Victoria Gold, Dublin Gulch are kind of the type deposits for these intrusive related gold systems. 10 million plus ounce deposits, not uncommon in our neighborhood, and that's certainly what we're onto at Estelle here at the southern end of that belt. So zooming right in, this is looking east from the project area, looking east towards Anchorage, which is the main population center, Anchorage in the valley there in Alaska. Infrastructure, always so important with these projects. So in terms of power and access, with power, numerous options there. That blue line is the proposed gas pipeline that's going to go out to the Donlin project just to the west of us. So that will pass about 10 miles to the north of us, which we could tap into. Also, we've looked at just running a transmission line straight from the Beluga power source, all gas here, just a transmission line. In terms of access, we have that pink line that you see there. That is a winter road that we establish every year, very common in this part of the world. And then we're becoming now very excited about this red line. This is the West Susitna Access Road project, which is a state-funded project and looking to come online here and start construction in 2025, gaining major momentum. That'll take us straight from the port of Anchorage there, or Port Mackenzie, the deep water port for Anchorage, and take us straight out to the site.
Yeah, when you think of this part of the world, infrastructure is not what necessarily immediately comes to mind.
Right. With that road, that West Susitna Access Road, we believe we could construct and operate a mine just using the winter road. However, having an all-weather year-round road with that West Susitna Access Road, that'll be huge for the project, and will basically just become a suburb of Anchorage. I mean, it's a 100-mile road, and so we're really excited about that. Now, zooming right in further to the project, it's as I said, it's a district play, 35-kilometer long mineralized corridor. We've been focused on 4 major areas at Corbell and RPM, where we have our resources, and then also at Stony and Train here in the middle of the project area, where we've been focusing a lot of our exploration. Spinning around, looking north, this shows our neighbor, U.S. Gold Mining Inc., who I believe is also a Vrify user, and that's our direct neighbor there. And we share, airstrip and camp there on the airstrip together. They're mainly focused on porphyry copper gold deposits. And so it's the same geology. So we also have potential for that, and have a number of prospects where we're looking for that as well. But mainly our resources are in the gold deposits. Okay, let's talk about some of these gold deposits. Here's RPM, which has really become the jewel in the crown. Relatively recent discovery, very high grade core there. 340,000 ounces at 2.3 grams per ton. Early days, that's in measured and indicated categories, with a total of 820,000 ounces, including the inferred. And so we continue to drill that out and prove that up and expand that resource there. And then the nearby RPM South deposit, where that's a maiden resource, first drill holes in there, 420,000 ounces. Let's zoom in a bit.
And the general approach, the general approach, just to put all these in, or to give a bit of context, is multiple deposits along this trend feeding into a centralized processing facility.
That's correct. Currently in our scoping study, certainly that's what we envisioned. However, as things grow down south and further, we advance some of these other prospects, we could have multiple mining centers with multiple, at least 2 plants, one in the south area, one in the north area. That'll all come out in the PFS, which we're engaged in now. So, but yeah, currently in the scoping study, we do envision a central processing facility and everything going to that. But that looks to grow as we move forward.
And that's where some of those smaller high grade deposits, they don't need to be 10 million ounces individually. That little 500,000 ounces of high grade material in that scenario adds so much flexibility to the mine plan going forward. And
indeed,
having multiple, I don't think any mine has ever complained about having multiple areas that they can draw ore from.
That's true. And it's not just about the gold. As we move forward in the years to come with our exploration, silver, copper, and we're really excited about, we've had some significant antimony discoveries out there. And I don't know, I'm a gold copper guy, Steve, but I don't know if you know much about antimony, but we've done a lot of research over the last few months, and antimony is one of these very critical and strategic metals. And so I think as people learn more about antimony, they'll understand there's no U.S. production of antimony either. No domestic production. Yeah, very interesting. And in this crazy world, that we live in now, it's used in lots of military applications as well. So it is an interesting, very strategic metal. But back to RPM. So this is where we've drilled to date in a number of areas here. We have the RPM North Bonanza Zone, as we call it. We have the RPM Valley down here, and we have RPM South. Now, that's where we focused most of our drilling up here in the north. very, very dense drilling where we have the measured and indicated status, but we continue to drill all those areas out and link them. There's potential for them all to link into one larger deposit. Here's some of the results that we've had from our drilling from that RPM Bonanza zone. You can see that here, 132 meters at 10.1 grams per ton in RPM 005. I could just go on and on with these spectacular numbers for the record for the record books by any measure. 67 meters at 10.4, 140 meters at 6.5, just shows you what RPM certainly and the wider Estelle district is capable of in terms of grade. And then up at RPM South, just getting started there. Not too shabby, 94 meters at a gram, a couple of 40 meters at a gram material. So hoping to hit one of those blowout zones up there eventually as well at RPM South. As we move forward.
So sorry, 45 meters at 25 grams per ton.
That's
Did I see that? 117 meters at 11 grams per ton. Is that gold or that's gold equivalent?
Gold, just pure gold. So our RPM as well as Corbell, which we'll go up to here in a sec, is these are very clean deposits in terms of metallurgy and elements. It's just gold. And a little bit of silver, but no copper or some of these elements that are kind of deleterious when you come to gold processing are in a very clean metallurgy like that. But yeah, that's right. You see that right.
And sorry, that one question for you. I just noticed on this. There's some black strings with nothing on them, and then there's obviously some color ones with assays. Those are those future drill holes, or those holes there aren't assays for?
Yeah, good question. So the white traces are previous drill holes, and the black traces are the holes we drilled this year.
Okay.
So yes, the black traces are the year, and we just finished that drilling program.
Okay. So we don't have assays for all those holes yet.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So spinning around, let's focus in on that RPM North high grade Bonanza zone, and this is the 1 gram per ton grade shell in red there. So even at that high cutoff, you can see that this high grade zone really sticks together. It's thick, it's continuous, it hangs together very, very well. And some of these deeper holes that we've drilled down into the valley, so they're not actually deep underneath the surface. These holes started up on a ridge and drilled down, and they're still quite shallow under the surface down into the valley. But you can see another 1 gram per ton zone developing and starting to form there as well. Then when we
any historic mining here at all? Old timers added into the side? Nothing at all?
No. So it's virgin ground, mostly outcropping, which has made our exploration very, very easy, dare I say it. But it doesn't require complex, deep searching exploration techniques. Our method is just geologists, boots on the ground. They're literally kicking up new finds every day they're out there. So here's the 0.3 gram per ton grade shell. You can see it really starts to bulk out. And of course, our scoping study pit shells drive down on that. Looking at the resource classification measured right there in that RPM Bonanza core, some indicated around there as well. And then the remainder of the deposit still remains inferred. And so this is where, back to those black traces of the drilling we did this year, this is where we've really focused our drilling. Up dip from that in that high grade Bonanza zone, the rocks there look pretty good. We've drilled some holes down dip as well. These holes out here, we've drilled to the west. We've closed it off to the west, but it still remains open out here to the east. And then our drilling this year also focused on infilling and expanding that valley zone. And then, of course, these holes out here at RPM South in this zone, because all of our drilling is the highest quality HQ oriented diamond core, and all of the data shows us that this is linked. There's an intrusive in here that links these two zones, so quite a bit of upside potential remains there to get these to connect RPM South.
And what we're looking at here is all of the drilling, like that area in between where there are no drill strings. That's because it's never been tested in between.
That's correct. So moving along, and there it is. There it is. Our target zone. So you can see our kind of going interpretation at the moment. One of the leading interpretations is that you have this RPM Bonanza zone. Like I said, it was cut off to the west. It looks like there's a fault in here, and it actually rips off this nose off the main intrusive in here. And that's what that RPM bonanza zone is. So you can see that this target intrusive is, very, very exciting for us. You can see some of the numbers we got in the valley there in that intrusive: 76 meters at 1.2, 100 meters at 1 gram, including 30 meters at 2 grams. So those are the initial drill holes in there. And it's certainly, as we infill it, it's shaping up. And we're hoping to get these black traces in the valley zone back very, very soon to confirm and continue to prove up that area. So that's to date, if those connect, we're looking at a 1 kilometer strike length at RPM. Very exciting deposit. Our highest priority deposit right now for the drilling, of course, with this year was focused on that, and then next year as well to continue to expand and prove this up. So there's RPM. Now, in nearby, 6 kilometers away, is one of our areas for our exploration focus. It's the Train area. And in between there, there's on the map here, you see this potential processing plant, as we were speaking earlier. If it's required if we define the resources down here to support another processing plant, we have a nice suitable location here in the hills, a nice flat spot where we could put that processing plant. But zooming in on Train, very exciting. And another gold, we have gold. And as well, this is an area where recently we've looked at the multi-element data. We have antimony here as well. But in terms of gold, here's the kind of results you get here: 43 grams, 80 grams, 30 grams, 30 grams. There's very high grade veins ripping through here.
And these are grab samples?
Yes.
These are grab samples we're looking at?
Correct. All surface samples. That's right.
Okay.
And so in this area, there's a number of areas we're focused on. Train prospect proper here. Then this area we call Trumpet. You can see a lot of these higher grade samples. This area over here we call Shoeshine. And then this area over here we call Muddy Creek. And so those are the kind of the 4 areas within train prospect area that we're looking at. And our first target will be here between Train and Trumpet. And there's 1.5 kilometers of strike length there of a target intrusive. And what we see there, this photo you see on the side, are these, thick, very high grade sheeted veins ripping through that area. And so that's our objective there. That's our next drilling target, to establish a third resource at the Estelle project. A third resource that will potentially provide
and sorry, Chris, if I can cut you off for a sec. Have you done, so this Train target you just took us through, has there been any drilling done on that?
Yes, we did drill a couple of holes in that this year. Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes, we did. Yep. And so establishing that third resource there, very close to RPM, then again that'll build the case for another processing plant down to in the south area here. And you can see now as we fly north, these gray lines are our proposed road infrastructure. So we've surveyed these out, and we hope to break ground on those next year. And you can see it comes up and it's forks off to the north, going to Train, and to the south, going to RPM. So let's fly north here along the edge of the prospect area, past our fully winterized 80-man camp, core processing facilities, on-site prep lab there at Whiskey Bravo year round. We have people out there.
And so access, these are the grading, the proposed rows. These are helicopter access drill sites.
Currently, yes. And so these are the roads that we tend to establish here starting next year in the years to come. That's right. So up at Corbell, we have a number of anomalies and prospects we've been working on. I really want to focus on the black dots, where we have our resources. At Corbell Main, we have a very large bulk tonnage deposit, 6.6 million ounces there, 3 million in indicated. And then now we did a maiden drilling program there last year at Cathedral, where we have a maiden resource there of 2 million ounces. Here at Corbell, just a massive deposit here, right? Hundreds of millions of tons, a strike length of 2.5 kilometers. We've done quite a bit of drilling here. We were onto this much longer, or well before we even found RPM down south. And then a short distance, 500 meters away, we're starting to drill now at Cathedral. And early days looks good. At a minimum, it looks like another Corbell Main type deposit developing there. So looking at Corbell Main in long section now, it is a low grade deposit. Average grade over the deposit is 0.3 grams per ton. There is a higher grade feeder core, that kind of feeder zone in the middle there. And you can see that. What do I mean by higher grade? I mean 101 meters at 1.3 grams per ton, 113 meters at 1 gram per ton. So that's that higher grade feeder core. If I now put on the 0.5 gram per ton grade shell, that really starts to encompass that higher grade feeder core in there within the deposit. Spinning around, looking to the northwest now. There you are, and putting on the 0.3 gram per ton grade shell really starts to bulk out here. And so, a lot of people ask, well, 0.3 grams per ton, what can you do with that? And I'll, you have to understand this deposit. Firstly, here's your higher grade feeder core, which is, running almost 1 million ounces there, running about a gram or a bit more. That'll be direct mill feed. And then in the outer zones, it's all about these sheeted veins, and the veins themselves are very high grade, and its vein density is less out there. And so we intend to employ ore sorting, where we've just had exceptional results to process and upgrade and process that material. And I'll go.
So is that in ore sorting? I haven't followed the ore sorting technology. I remember seeing it 3 or 4 years ago. Is this like the one I saw before was conveyor belt with compressed air and essentially anything that doesn't, you need your rock to, in that one, it needs to be visual. Camera sees something it likes or doesn't like, and a blast of air shoots it off the table. Is that similar to what when you say ore sorting?
Yes, that's correct. But there's different types of ore sorting. So I think what you're describing there is optical ore sorting, and what we're employing is something called XRT density ore sorting.
Okay.
Right. And I'll go into a bit more depth about that. I got a slide on that actually, and explain that a bit further.
Okay, great.
So this is the resource classifications at Corbell Main. Most of the in-pit resources are indicated, and then there's some inferred around the edges for some upside, and then of course a maiden resource which we developed at Cathedral out here, which we were talking about. Here's some of the results that we need to continue to follow up at Cathedral. We were talking about some of those high grade veins you can see in these rock chip results, which are some of them are selectively sampled from the vein material at 114 grams per ton, 98 grams per ton. That's what we're separating out in the ore sorting here in the Corbell area. But let's go to the process now, and we'll get into some of that ore sorting in a bit more depth. Here's our layout suitable spot that we've identified and laid out in our scoping study. Moving into the process. So it's very conventional, off-the-shelf technology, nothing real fancy going on here. It is particulate gold, very easily liberated gold. We crush it, we mill it down to 75 microns, then we go through a flotation circuit where we concentrate where we're getting over 95% recovery. Then we regrind that concentrate down to 22 microns, which is still quite coarse, and then we leach, where our scoping level test work has shown over 96% recovery there. Now we're moving into PFS, and we'll continue to hone in and on some of these elements, and those numbers are set to improve. So that's how you process RPM and straight mill feed and that higher grade material at Corbell. Later on in the mine life is when we will employ the ore sorting, and so that adds an extra 10 plus years to the mine life, where a lot of mines are running around looking for old stockpiles to process. We got 10 plus years of this material there at Corbell to continue our mine life. And so here's my slide. This is the nice thing about Vrify. You can kind of come in and out. And so here's a slide specifically on the ore sorting. And you can see here this picture of typical ore, Steve. And this vein, the veins are very discrete, very continuous. They're continuous. These things can be anywhere from a millimeter, hairline fracture, to we've seen them up to a meter thick. They generally run between 1 to 3 centimeters in thickness, and it's a distinct mineralogy, and the density of that vein material with the arsenopyrite is like 7, and contrast that with the country rock, the granodiorite here, which is about 2.6, and so that density contrast enables the XRT density ore sorters to work exceptionally well. The veining is not stock worked or complex. It's sheeted in there, and they're perfectly stacked up. And so you can see the image on the bottom where the machine sees the vein material, the high-grade vein material, identifies it, and that's what it's on the conveyor belt. And then at the end, that's how it separates it using the air jets. Now, you know, this doesn't the high grade and where the gold is so easily identifiable. You could do it just, you and a couple of friends on a weekend. You could literally look at the rock and tell which, has the vein material, which has the gold, and you could separate ore from waste, no problem, visually like that. Of course, that's not possible. And our test work has shown us this is the best way.
Yeah.
This is the best way to do that. So we've seen our test work has shown that we can take 0.4 gram material and upgrade it up to 6 grams per ton. And so now, of course, going up to that type of a grade jump does come at a cost to the recovery. So you only get about 40-50% recovery if you go all the way up to 6%. But what tends to be the optimal for maximum recovery is upgrading that material up to about 1 to 1.2 grams per ton, and we capture almost 90% of the gold that way using the ore sorters. And so that's how so that's the answer how we process that material.
That's fascinating. It reminds me of I going back almost 20 years, a job I had at a farm in Alberta. And potatoes would come down the conveyor belt, and I'd stand there and take the green ones and throw them in the waste bin, and do that for 12 hours a day, sorting potatoes on a conveyor belt.
You should have got an ore sorter. A lot of this ore sorting technology was actually developed in the food industry. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it just works exceptionally well here with particularly at Corbell. Now, so that's Corbell. Moving up into another exciting exploration area here at Stony. And at Stony, we're just getting started there, but it's very exciting. We're seeing a number of zones here. This is the main Stony vein complex out in here. This is what we call T5 out in here. And then a new one we've just discovered this year is this out here, which we don't really have a name for it to date. We just call it the Trundle area. But the exciting thing about this area is it's not only high-grade gold, but it's high-grade gold, silver, and copper as well. So polymetallic stacked vein systems here at Stony. And also, now that we've gone back and looked at our multi-elements, we're seeing very, very good antimony results as well. We're still analyzing that, but there's antimony potential here at Stony as well. And speaking of the antimony, our exploration work identified a new prospect outside of that area up here at Stibium. And at Stibium, our exploration programs in the past and this year, we haven't even really been looking for antimony. It's just kind of come out in the wash. Certainly, as we move forward now, we'll be focused more on antimony, the antimony potential. However, you can see first pass here at a new prospect called Stibium is good gold for surface samples, for initial surface samples, up to 12.7 grams per ton. But look at the antimony in some of these samples, Steve. 2.1%. This one here, it was a pure stibnite vein, just a big, massive stibnite vein out there, 60.5% antimony. So we'll be continuing to focus on that. The beauty of this, of the antimony that we're seeing, it's not a diversion because we're a gold company. We're after the gold. The antimony's in with the gold zones. So it's not a diversion. It's just now looking at another element that'll potentially provide some a very significant bonus byproduct credits as in the economics as we look at that. And
well, also, yeah, I guess there's two sides to it. There's the byproduct and just the actual metal value of that, but also there are so many other external factors that are really promoting critical, like the U.S. critical mineral strategy and all these other elements where that kind of changes. I would assume that would actually be able to change the narrative around the story as well, whether that's access to additional funding or helping it through, the permitting process or anything else. I'm sure it's an interesting element to it. One thing I'd ask though, I don't know antimony. What's considered high grade?
Okay, so if you look at there's other project, one other project in the U.S. So there's no domestic production of antimony, but there's one other project in Idaho that's trying to get up and going. Their average grade is 0.06%.
Okay. And that's a primary, antimony is the primary commodity in that project?
Gold antimony.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gold antimony. And
so 60% is okay.
Right. Yeah. 60% is okay. So, anything above about 0.1%, I think is exciting. But, we're pursuing what we're seeing, especially at Stibium here and at Styx, the other project we'll fly to, is that we're seeing massive stibnite veins, right? We're seeing massive stibnite veins, and stibnite as a mineral is the primary ore source for antimony. And stibnite itself has 75% antimony in its, elemental breakdown. So
when do you drill these targets?
Well, some of those things you mentioned, that pursuing DOD, DOE grants and some of these things, we'll as soon as possible, possibly next year. And we like this one here at Stibium for a number of reasons. One, it's very close to our camp, right? It's very close to our camp, which is just right over here. The camp is just right over here in this area.
Yeah.
And it has gold as well. So it has gold and very good gold and antimony. So this one is a very exciting target that we could potentially drill next year. And we're looking at our drill plans and starting to develop those now for next year. So stay tuned. Stay tuned, Steve. Okay, so there's Stibium. And another one I just want to touch on before we go is a new prospect as well that we've discovered this year at Styx. And Styx, the gold numbers were okay for a first pass. The gold numbers were okay for a first pass. However, it's the antimony that really excites us here. There is 19%, again, massive stibnite out there, 19% antimony, 21% antimony, and 1.7% antimony. So very exciting antimony target with gold as well. So we'll follow that up. And that's not ready to drill for sure. We have another exploration surface program on that one.
Yeah.
So there you have it. You can see it's a district play. It's a once we get out here to mine this, and as we move forward to exploration, we'll be out here for decades, Steve. We'll be out here for decades and decades at the Estelle Gold Project. This has been our resource growth over 4 short years. We've defined from 2.5 million ounce maiden resource in 2019. We've defined almost 10 million ounces to date. Of course, it's not just about quantity, it's the quality of the resources. So one of our main objectives right now is to start proving these resources up into the measured and indicated categories. And certainly that's what we've been doing this year's drilling program. And as we move forward, and from that, we think, we'll get the secondary bonus as those resources will continue to grow it as well. We did do a scoping study that we released earlier this year. And this was the company, we wanted to kind of get a snapshot in time and see, do we have a viable project here? And the result came back very positive, we felt. It's a 17-year mine life, 11-month payback period. That's mainly from that RPM high-grade material coming in in the early years. 650 million NPV, less than 400 million CapEx, producing almost 2.3 million ounces over that 17 years. Now, this is a foundation, kind of the base to build from. As we move forward here into PFS, these numbers will continue to improve. So just at the end of the day, to kind of wrap up here, I spent a lot of time in my career working down on the Carlin Trend in Nevada with the likes of Newmont and Barrick down there. And when you sit back at the end of the day, and what is developing out here at Estelle, and we see a trend. And certainly the geology is different, but in terms of scale and potential resource endowment, we see a lot of similarities to something like the Carlin Trend starting to take shape here out at Estelle. And so, there's a lot of opportunity here for the investor and near, medium, and long terms. And that's what we tend to pursue. And with that, I'll thank you. That's my presentation.
So, Chris, appreciate you taking us through. Last question for you. What can we expect to see in the coming weeks and months?
Right. More. So in terms of news flow, more exploration results focused on gold and antimony. from all the work we did this year. Drill results, of course, coming back for what we just looked at today at in some of those areas in RPM is what we're really excited about. So more drill results, all of that I think will be coming out here before the end of the year or into early next year. Next week is the Alaska Miners Association Conference. So we'll be presenting there, and we have a booth showing our rocks at the Alaska Miners Association Conference. So that's what's happening here over the next few weeks and months.
Okay, Chris. All right, I really enjoyed that. Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Yep, thanks for having us. Appreciate it. Yeah.
All right, all the best.
You too. Bye-bye.